Good morning, everyone. I hope you had a great day so far. If you will, take out your lesson books and turn to page 23. Once you get there, you're going to see 3 columns. And in that first column, I want you to write down 10 to 15 things that you think you spend the most time on. So not here on your LeadAbroad trip, not on vacation, but at home in your day-to-day life, what do you think you spend the most time on? So 10 to 15 things. You'll have 60 seconds, and be honest. I know that some of you should have Facebook and Netflix on this list. So 60 seconds starting now. All right, time's up. So in the second column, I want you to do the exact same thing, but I want you to think about how you spend your money. Again, this is not for a grade, so you can be honest with yourself, really think about it, and write down 10 to 15 things that you think you spend your money on a weekly basis. 60 seconds starting now. All right, time's up. Now, if you will just put that aside, we will come back to that later. So today we're going to be talking about values. Values, knowing your values is an important part of understanding yourself individually, but also as a leader. Knowing those strengths and core values are 2 major parts of who you are. So organizations, they have their values posted on their websites, on their walls at work. Marketers spend billions of dollars every year trying to figure out what we as consumers value. Parents, teachers, friends, they spend our entire lives trying to shape what we value. And then businesses try to create products that align with what we value. But so what? Why does the world value values? So what exactly are values? You know, values has become this kind of buzzword in society today. Oh, I have values. We have values. But what exactly are values? Can someone give me an example of what a value is? Perfect. Great example. So now we're going to do a little bit of a group discussion. And I've written down these questions for you on the board. So I want you to turn to 2 to 3 people around you, and I want you to talk about these questions as a group and kind of unpack this and dig a little bit deeper. And I want you to ask yourself, why do businesses have values? Who do you think influences those values? How does where you grew up influence your values? And how have you seen that translate to your LeadAbroad program that you're on right now? And then an overarching question I want you to ask yourself is, do you think that values actually influence the way we behave? All right, you're gonna have 2 or 3 minutes. I want you to just talk about that with your peers for just a few minutes. All right. That was some great discussion. I heard some really good thoughts being told. So, values versus vision. There's a lot of reasons why values are so important to us. Identifying those values are just as important to us as well. And knowing how they impact our lives, it's so important to identify our own core values. So, when talking about values versus vision, I want you to see this map right here and think about your values as the roadmap, your route, and the vision is your destination. The values are going to guide you along your destination to your vision. All right. So when everyone walked in today, you received 5 pieces of paper. I want you to take those pieces of paper out and write down 5 different values on each one. So don't just write a word, such as family or friends. I want you to write it in a sentence, kind of define it a little bit, and then we'll come back together. So go ahead and write those values down. All right, great job, everybody. So now I want you to look at those 5 values. I want you to hold those tight. I want you to see those as your anchors, the pillars with which everything in your world remains upright. Now, I want you to throw away 2 of those. All right. Now, I want you to see the 3 that you have left. Why do you have those 3 left? Why did you throw away those 2? Now, I want you to look at those 3. I want you to look at those 3. And I want you to see those as your anchors, the vision with which you will see the whole world, the pillars with which you will, everything else in your world remains upright. Okay? Now I want you to throw away one of those. I want you to look at the 2 that you have left. Why do you have those 2 left? I want you to hold these tight. I want you to see these as your anchors, the lens through which you will see the world, the pillars upon which everything else is built upon. Now, I want you to throw away one of those. All right, now I want you to look at that one that you have left. Why is it that you have that one left? Can someone give me an example of why it's so important for us to write down our values? Perfect, that's a great answer. So now we're going to do a little bit of a brain dump. I don't know if you've ever done a brain dump before, but I'm going to read each question. You're going to have 30 seconds to answer each one. And anything that comes across your mind, anything and everything, just write it down. So, what are you feeling? How did you decide what values to throw away? How did it feel to throw away those other values? And what was that one value you kept and why? All right, now I want us to get back in our small little groups and I want us to unpack this a little bit further. Some other questions to kind of, jog your brain or get those brain cells going is, why was this such an emotional process for you? How are you feeling right now having to give up those 4 values and only have one left? And then one big question I want you to be thinking about is, how easy is it for us and how often do we throw away a value on a Saturday night? Or when something more immediate comes along, or when we're in a hurry? Do you think that if we were as conscious of this in that moment as we are right now, would we be so willing to compromise those values and throw them away? All right, I want you to talk about those questions amongst yourselves for a couple minutes. All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about some reasons why values are so important to us. So, number 1, values give us purpose. Without values, we end up drifting along in life. Instead of basing our decisions on our internal compass, we let those social pressures and circumstances make those decisions for us or influence those decisions. Before you know it, life has passed you by and you've just ended up drifting along, and you have this sense of unfulfillment and you're being shiftless. Instead, when we live a life in line with those core values, we end up happy, we have direction, and we're fulfilled. So, for example, your parents may value financial security and stability, which has led you to choose a major in which that is a factor of. But you may not value that. Can somebody else give me an example of our value giving us purpose? Perfect. That's a great example. So another reason is that values give us confidence and accountability. Taking time to meditate upon those core values and actually writing them down, I find myself much more likely to have the courage and confidence to make those choices based on those core values that I hold so dear. So for example, in 2019, my goal is to run a half marathon. So I've already started telling all my friends and my family and posted it on Facebook about wanting to run the half marathon. I believe that accountability factor is gonna make me much more likely to follow through on my goal to run my half marathon, because when people come up to you and say, oh, how's the training going? Or are you getting ready for that half marathon? I'm gonna be much more likely to follow through. Third, values makes life simpler. Decision making becomes much simpler when you have those core values in your life. When you are faced with a decision, you ask yourself, does this action align with my core values? If it does, you do it. If it doesn't, you don't. Values should be our anchor. They should direct us and drive all of our actions in life. Does anyone have any examples of how having values has made your life simpler? Great, that's a great example. So now that we've talked a little bit about the reasons why values are so important, let's talk a little bit about when values and actions don't align. So it's equally as important as having the values as it is making sure we live out those values. So when we don't align our values to our actions, what's going to happen? We're going to lose trust. Leaders are going to lose influence over their followers, and they're going to lose team morale as well. So some examples of this would be a friend who says they value timeliness, but they're always late. Do you think they value timeliness if they're always late? That's a perfect example of someone's values not matching up with their actions. Does anybody else have a good example for that? Exactly. Great example. So it's very easy for us to point out the discrepancies in someone else, like a celebrity or an athlete. But when the camera's turned on us, probably not quite as easy. I want you to take back out that list that we did at the beginning of class, and I want you to hold those up against the 5 values that you did in our group activity. Does the way you spend your time and your budget align with those values? I want you to keep that in mind. A wise man once said, you know what you value by the way you spend your time and your money. So making sure those values line up with the way your time and your budget is spent is very important. All right, now we're gonna play a song, and I want you to spend that time to reflect over all that we've learned today. And I want you to write down, they can be the same or different, but I want you to redraft those core values that are personal to you. Again, yours might be different from yours. They might be the same but mean different things to you. I just want you to keep it from 3 to 5, just because it's easy. It's going to be easier for you to have less when it comes time to leverage those in your decision making. All right, I'm going to start the song, and I want you to think long and hard about it. And at the end, we'll come out together and wrap up. So, bottom line is that values matter. Knowing your values, which you do, knowing those values, which you already know, defining them, which you have just done, and now it's up to you to live them out. So, knowing your values makes life simpler. It gives you confidence and accountability, and most importantly, it gives you purpose. It gives you an anchor. It gives you direction in life. So I would encourage you to write down those 3 to 5 values and post them somewhere you're going to see them every single day, whether it's your bathroom mirror or your coffee pot or your closet door. Somewhere you're going to see them and ingrain them in your brain every single day, and that's going to give you the confidence and accountability to live those values out. All right, that's been a great class, everybody. That's all I have for you today, but if anyone has any other questions on values, please come see me after class, and I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.